Hey, Samantha Stevens here from the Second Chance Association, and I'm so excited to come to you all today with our guest speaker, Kerry Nelson. Kerry is an incredible woman. She's a mum of two, and she has been in business for over 20 years now. Kerry runs a business called Operation Verve, and she's all about systems and systemization and organization. She's everything I'm not. So we're going to pick Kerry's brains today. I looked at her slides and I'm like, I need this woman in my life. So you guys are going to learn so much from her. So Kerry, welcome and thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Sam. It's my pleasure. That's quite an introduction. I hope I live up to that. Yeah.
I'm sure you will. So Kerry, tell us a little bit about Operation Verve and how that came about.
Yes, well, specifically this platform has been built because I've been working in this industry, helping people systemize their processes in their business for the last 18 months to 2 years. And I just found that the personal branding website that I was trading from needed its own dedicated thing. So Operation Verve is about activating a spirit of excellence in your business. And it is, I love doing it. I love the transformation that it brings. And I love seeing people, really set free in their business and able to scale to new growth.
I'm sure we all want a spirit of excellence. That sounds amazing. So do you want to share with us the slides and let's go through it? I'm going to pick Kerry's brain throughout this because there's so much information in here. It's awesome. So bear with us as she shares her screen now.
Yeah, I will do that. There you go. I'll get rid of that. There you go. Is that okay?
That's perfect.
All righty, very good. So there you go. There's my nice little logo, Operation Verve. I hope that our internet lasts all right. And that's not flicking through.
No, it's not.
And I don't know why.
Okay.
You can see my screen, yeah?
Yeah.
So this is Operation Verve, and I love my logo design, just by the way. I was really happy with that. So yeah, like I said, Operation Verve is about activating a spirit of excellence in your workplace. And when I present this in person, every talk that I ever do is about unstoppable freedom. So my 3 core values are freedom, love, and passion. And I've just found over the course of my life that there are certain strategies that you can use personally and professionally to really make you unstoppable. And there have been times in my life where I've really felt like, I feel like life is stopping me. Life's coming crashing down, and there are always a way through. So,
Kerry, talk to me about that, about freedom, because I find a lot of business owners find themselves suffocated, and something we discuss a lot is that they have this idea, this passion, they open up this business to get freedom, and they find themselves working into the ground. So are you untapping into that unstoppable freedom? For some of us may seem impossible when they've got this business and it's consuming them. So
yes, that's the exact problem that I help business owners to fix. There's all sorts of studies done, not enough studies done, but certainly lots of studies done on small business owners. And they say that 10% of small business owners are working in excess of 75 hours a week. And more than 60% are working in excess of the regular 40 hours. Typically small business owners are working longer than professionals. They're working longer than doctors and lawyers just to keep things afloat. And it's a horrible situation because when you start your business, everyone has an idea that it's going to allow them to have a significant impact in the world with the thing that they're taking to market, and that they're going to have a bit of control over their lifestyle and have free choices there. And yet the predominant story is that in that first few years, people end up like a prisoner in their business. And it's a horrible situation to be in, and people don't know how to get out of it. That's the tragedy.
That's crazy stat. So if you're in that 75%, you need to be getting your pens and papers out and writing this down. Let's get into it.
Yes, that's exactly right. And if you get this stuff right too, it allows you, the way you get free is certainly by creating systems, but that alone if you're still tied to your systems, that alone won't work. And so we'll talk through about how you can use this approach to scale your business, to duplicate your output, and really have some massive lifestyle changes and business increase too. So let's start off with the journey, because certainly my experience is really reflected in this journey, but I have found again and again that the same basic phases are passed through by each entrepreneur in their journey of business growth. So it starts off, of course, with ambition. And ambition is when you first have that idea. I know, what if I opened this shop? What if I open this salon? Or what if I build this website, or start running this group, or start, delivering my services? I've been working and now I want to do my own thing, And so with that ambition is every single entrepreneur has that in common. You've got big dreams about what your business could do for you and your family, but the driving thing is the difference it could make in the world, and how you could help your customers or your clients, and how you could really make a difference in your community. And I love startups, and I know that I certainly shared that passion when I started up, and every time I start a new thing, I'm like, oh, it's so exciting to be able to do this. And it's an absolute thrill. So that's the first part. And then we often find that you turn into that prisoner of your business. And that's where you've taken your business to market. It's actually starting to work. You've started to get, more traffic in your website. You've got more customers. You've got more revenue. You're expanding your lines in your shop front or your online retail store, or whatever the case is. And the workload of that gets bigger, because the more customers there are to serve, the more hours in the day you need to serve them, and the more products that you've got, the more maintenance of your catalogue you need, and the more platforms you're working in with your social media to take yourself to market. Of course, the more maintenance that needs, and you've got feedback, and you've got emails, and you've got admin, and you've got site maintenance, and before you know it, you realise that this one-man band operation, it simply can't work. And so that's certainly been the story for me.
I can definitely relate to that, Kerry.
And when I started, my late husband and I started our business together. We actually met selling Kerry vacuum cleaners. So door to door, my first little business was as an agent for Kerry vacuum cleaners. And at that time, my late husband and I, we had massive dreams about having a big, distributorship and whatever. And over the years, we started up a few different things. And all of that business eventually turned into an online retail business called Vacuum Spot. And that was the magic formula that absolutely worked. And we had global reach with that website, selling vacuum cleaner spare parts to people online. And, it grew out of our garage, and all of our ambitions started actually coming true. And then we realised that, oh my gosh, the work never stops. We're exploding out of our garage. We don't have time to do our admin properly. And we really did become prisoners of our business. We're working really long hours and not doing very well at all. So we moved to Melbourne and continued to grow. And here's the thing, we made the mistakes that a lot of business owners make, in that we're growing and we think what we need is more sales. We need more revenue. We need more customers. We need more lines in our website. And all that did was make the prison worse. And, Zig Ziglar says that the solution to financial problems is very rarely more money. And what we really had was a system problem, a management problem. So have you had that sort of experience, Sam?
I have. I'm here nodding my head going, can totally relate to that in my experience of owning salons, digital marketing agencies, all of that sort of thing. And absolutely, you straight away go, we need more sales. But bottom line is, if the system isn't right, everything's crashing, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And, systems generally, people don't see them as sexy. And when people are struggling in their business, they feel it in cash flow. And so they're feeling like, oh, I need to get more sales. Then I could put more people on, or I could put my prices up. But there's not really a sense of getting back in behind the problem to look at it from a systematic point of view. So once you've found yourself in that prisoner situation, the next thing, of course, you need to do, that's bizarre. Oh, I went the wrong way. Sorry, everyone. Is break out of your prison. And you do that by starting to put members on in your team. You employ an extra pair of hands because your hands are absolutely full. Employ an extra pair of hands, and then that gives you some relief. And if you're an entrepreneur, anything like what I am, it fuels your ambition. And you think, awesome, I've got some time back. I'm going to start a new project. I'm going to build out more products. I'm going to take a new advertising campaign to market. Because at the end of the day, you're still in this situation where you think what you need is more sales and more revenue and bigger market reach. And those things are valuable, don't get me wrong. But if you keep digging down that pathway, you're digging yourself into a trench that is really difficult to get out of. So that breakout phase is absolutely liberating. And it came for us when we did move to Melbourne. We put on a warehouse manager to do our order fulfillment. And then we put on a warehouse assistant to help out and get another pair of hands working down there to keep on serving the customers. And Alec went gangbusters on making sure that we had really great advertising and our website was converting really well. And we were in the breakout phase, continued to churn out more sales, more work, more sales, more work. And still we enjoyed the freedom of being able to expand like that. We built our revenue up to, a really good chunky $1 million. And yet we still were stuck. And so then we came to that situation where our business felt like a runaway train. And if I had me to help me back in those days, if you know what I mean, if I'd been able to contact someone and say, this business has got away from me, the sales are coming too fast, the customers coming too fast, the orders need to be gone out faster, the stock comes in faster than we can manage it, we haven't got time to do our emails properly, our filing properly, we can't find things. Everything was a real mess. And it's amazing, Sam. I see so many people in this runaway train situation. Their business model works. It absolutely works. And they're making great sales and they're really gaining traction in the market. But when they take a big deep breath and have the determination and maybe the courage to show me what's happening behind the scenes, I see filing that's disorganised and storage spaces that aren't clear and people that don't really know how to do a good job and people working inconsistently. And that runaway train is a horrible experience, and it's where a lot of really great businesses with so much potential burst at that point.
They've kind of got that knot and they can't do it anymore. Do you say, Kerry, that a lot of entrepreneurs it's not a natural gifting for them to have that systemized process behind it? They're more creating and getting it out there, and they're not thinking about all of the stuff that needs to be done behind the scenes?
You are exactly right. The studies show that the entrepreneur is motivated by a sense of autonomy and free choice, that they can make their own rules as they go along. And they love variety in their workplace because they can do so many things. And it's one of the reasons that they get stuck in this little cycle, because they keep jumping in to fix everything because they can, and certainly they're creative. They're always looking for the next big opportunity to expand their impact because they're so ambitious. They're so highly skilled and they know how to get further in their business and how to grow their business. But that back end of administration and something as boring and tedious as filing or writing up process documentation, that is not the work that an entrepreneur will naturally be drawn to, not at all.
Absolutely.
It's a rare combination to find someone who can manage their systems and keep on creating as well.
Yeah.
So from that runaway train, that's where I love to help people and turn their business into a freedom machine, where it's a money-making machine that gives them the revenue that they need to get their resources together, but they get the freedom out of the structures that they build and really nailing down workflow systems that work and allow them to continue to fill orders and expand their business, but do that in a way that's sustainable and lasting and certain for their teams as well. So that's what Operation Verve is all about.
Awesome. Yeah. Freedom machine.
Yeah, exactly. It's great stuff. It's really, really good stuff. I can continue if you like. I'm just wondering if you
I'm going to ask questions. So what would be, if we're stuck at the runaway point and we're like, this could go two ways, right? So I'm at that runaway train that I could either keep battling it out or I can just fold it because I'm kind of done with stress. What would be your top 3 tips to break up to the freedom machine? What would be the top 3 things somebody could implement to get out of that stress mode?
Yes. I'm actually about to go through that type of thing.
Go for it.
But really, I'll go through that conceptually, but really practically, the first thing is compare notes between each team member. If you've got more than one team member performing a task, actually ask them to compare how it's being done, because inconsistencies in performance of a task will mean that tasks aren't getting done the same way, which means customers aren't getting served the same way. It can create problems with invoicing and bill payment, create problems with stock management and control. So, you want to have a look and see that is the same thing being done, and then optimize that process. Is it the best way to do it? And then a third one that I learned from experience, and this seems fundamentally basic, and yet these things behind the scenes, I'm not embarrassed anymore of the situation that I was in because I see it again and again. Store your passwords securely. My husband actually passed away when we were in this stage going from, we were in a runaway train, and my husband passed away on the 28th of May, 2014. And that was purely because the stress and the pressure of working so long and not feeling like he was ahead of the game. He didn't feel successful in business. We were turning over lots of revenue, but our poor management meant that we were spending that revenue. We were not making a single cent in profit. And that's what happens when you're not managing your systems properly. There's so much waste in your resource and overheads that really can be culled back. So when I was stuck there and then my husband passed away, something as simple as not being able to log into the platforms that he was the one to use actually created complete mayhem. So really practically know what each other is doing, and certainly save your login somewhere securely. You've got LastPass and 1Password and platforms like that you can do that. Get on it. It is a matter of priority. And, for most people, their business freedom is not a matter of life and death, but it's certainly a matter of your life. What you don't want is to be locked out of systems because, an employee leaves or they're sick or they're on maternity leave or something. So, you really do need to have the practicalities organised. So there's some practical tips.
There's some great tips. I can totally relate to not being able to get logged into something. It's the most frustrating thing and the biggest waste of time. So LastPass is awesome. Yeah.
Definitely. And your team members should have access to that as well. Certainly, you need to take care of access levels, but for the core functioning of your business, make sure that your key team members have also got access so that if you're not there or they're not there, that you can all cover for each other. It's really important. So there you go. So there's some practical things. Now, the next part of my little presentation, I'll skip through that, is keys to success, which basically answers this question, Sam. So here are the 5 ingredients that you need to be able to create that freedom machine and scale your business and create lasting wealth and lasting certainty for yourself and your team. So the first thing that you need, of course, is an ambitious vision. If you don't have a vision that's bigger than yourself and you run into these sorts of roadblocks, you will literally stop. And I'm sure you can look around and think of friends that you've got or, colleagues that that, I'm comfortable where I am now. This is good enough. This is great. I'm happy with where I am. And that if they're happy, that is truly fine. There's no judgment there. But if you've got a really ambitious vision, a vision to make an impact nationally or globally, a mission to create a social change or to really bolster a cause that's really dear to your heart, that sort of thing will drive you forward and it will get you out of that runaway train phase because you're so driven by it, you can't not pursue it. So having an ambitious vision, you know, like Simon Sinek says, tapping into that why and having it so crystal clear that it becomes the platform for everything you do. So it's absolutely vital. And then the next step, of course, is much more practical. With that ambitious vision, you're going to have to go through lots of phases of change in your business because you can't stay the same and pursue big outcomes like that. So not only do you need to embrace that journey of change, but your team. The company culture itself needs to be built around change, that everyone not only expects new things to be happening around the workplace all of the time, but they're embracing it, and they're led through that in a pathway of safety where their change is set up for them, where they're not led out into the wide blue yonder and feel like they're just, you know, falling off the edge of a cliff, but that the change is supported, that it's strategic, that it's planned, that it's structured, but that it exists and it's in the pursuit of that big vision.
How do you make employees feel safe with change? Because I feel that can be quite uncomfortable for some people and you can get some resistance through that. So is it a matter of communication or what would you recommend with those people that really feel uncomfortable with things that are going to change and flow through?
Yes, I've published an article recently called I've forgotten the title, How Certainty Overcomes Resistance to Change. And studies show that, yes, our human brains want to go into that defensive mode. Our ego gets scared when new things are happening. We like to stick to the familiar, the comfortable, that safe zone that we all know. And so that's a reflexive, sort of instinctive reaction. And yet our human brains also need to learn. And the more we evolve and the more that we grow as the human race, our brain thrives on complexity. We still need security. We need safety, absolutely. But we also need to learn and grow and expand. And in the workplace, we need to be rewarded. We need to feel like we can step out into new areas and be acknowledged for that and even earn bonuses for that. So the way to do that is by involving the team in the change process right from the outset. You know, pick the area that needs the work, either because it's the lowest lying fruit and there's change that you can create quickly, or that your business is screaming out for a bit of a reno in a particular area, and jump in with the people that are going to be involved in implementing that change and the people that are going to be affected by the change, and ask them to research solutions and brainstorm it. You know, get that brains trust effect happening in your business. And then map it out, make it really certain, get your sticky notes out, or big, like I do, roll it out with your butcher paper, map out what the final thing needs to look like, and start implementing and documenting as you go. So you get that really great combination of security that humans need so that they don't go into that fight or flight mode, but also that wonderful, thriving adventure of learning and making new gains and taking new ground and going into that without a fear of the unknown. So, yeah, that's how you do that.
Great.
Yeah. Okay. And so then once you've established that culture of change, and that's not something that you just do one day, you know, that's an ongoing evolving process, but that culture of change needs to be really celebrated in the business. Then, of course, you need expert support. And what I say to people so often people think that they can do it themselves. And I understand that. And if you want to go through the process of trial and error, the way that I have, certainly you can. And if you're smart and if you've got that sort of way inclined, you can, you'll probably be able to nut some things out. But it's taken me nearly 5 years now to develop these skills, because I had to pick up that runaway train and turn it into a freedom machine on my own after my husband had passed away. And so I've learned lots of mistakes and clunky ways of doing things that I've thrown out. And now, you know, with 5 years of this sort of work under my belt, I really do know that the fastest way to getting solutions is to get help. And I say to people, if you knew how to do it yourself, you would have done it by now. You know, everyone knows how important it is, and yet most people don't actually put the brakes on their business and not stop, of course, but just slow down and give this priority. So, you need expert support on everything. I don't know as much about marketing as someone who's got a degree and they've been in it for 4 or 5 or 10 or 20 years. And, you need help from people that are experts in that area. So getting that support is absolutely vital.
100%.
Yeah. And then with that expert support, you should, my VAs are starting. That's nice. With that expert support, they will be able to help you to develop strategic tools. And by strategic tools, I don't mean just apps or websites or, tech type tools, although believe you me, I'm a massive fan of using those sorts of tools. But with expert support, you'll be able to develop a customized set of resources that are made just for your business. Checklists and pro formas, templates, email sequences that are just for your business. So instead of trying to reinvent the wheel, you've got someone to sit there with you and just map it all out and build it out. Or instead of trying to fit your unique business with your unique customers and products and your unique staff into a cookie cutter thing that doesn't work. There are some platforms that simply are not suitable for your business. So strategic tools that are customized for your business will create a flow like nothing else can. And then finally, you need, of course, to have consistent application. There's no point setting something up and working at it for 2 or 3 months or 2 or 3 weeks and then stopping because the next shiny thing comes along. The only way lasting growth and lasting change happens in anything, is to apply that constantly. So
that sounds easy, but consistency is not easy. It's something you need to check in with a lot, right?
Oh my goodness, yes. Have you ever tried to lose weight?
Yeah, I have. I'm on the wedding shred right now. That's a really hard thing to do, right?
Exactly. If it's worth doing, you've got to stick it for the long haul. It takes time to apply the change. They say it takes 21 days to create a habit. I don't know about that. I have been on an exercise program that I put myself on just before Christmas last year, and I need to confess right now in front of everyone that I still did not get up this morning to do my yoga. I didn't do it. I'll do it tomorrow. But consistency is really difficult because we're humans and, we're lazy, we're distracted, we're busy. So, yeah, it's vital though. Absolutely.
100%.
Yeah.
This was great, Kerry.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Some great takeaways for our listeners, and I think you've really broken it down into really simple terms that they can go away and have a go at this. And really, the first step is really the start, to acknowledge what point they're at first.
Yes.
And sometimes that's hard to take a look in the mirror.
You're exactly right. And that's why I love starting this presentation in both of these first little sets. We've got ambition was the starting place of your business. And then if you want to have continued success in your business, it's that ambitious vision that's going to be the platform that you grow from. So if you're starting to wane in that area, it is about coming back and comparing, where am I now? Like you say, take a good hard look at where, and an honest evaluation. Where am I now? And how far away am I from that idea that I initially had about what I wanted to do? Having that focus will be the fuel that will push you through to creating some lasting change and finally breaking through. And here's the thing, like a lot of businesses from the front end or on paper, they're successful. This is not about making more revenue. This is actually, you will make more revenue as a result of overhauling your systems. But the success comes by creating a lasting model that can be rolled out, duplicated, that training can happen, that people can replace each other in your staff. It's creating certainty and a lasting model that will mean your business is, you're future-proofing it, you're making it invincible.
So in saying that, when you're looking at your ambitious vision, it's really looking at the duplication, the scale, looking further ahead of what that tiny dream was initially. It's more looking at the end game as well, isn't it? Because when you're talking at the very start about freedom, most people find when they're in business, they're not in freedom. So by having that ambitious vision and knowing where you are and knowing where you need to go, that's where the freedom happens, that you can actually have this model, systemize that it can work without you. That's your whole message in Operation Verve, right? Absolutely.
Because if a business isn't growing, it's dying. There's no two ways around it. A living thing will grow. And yeah, so Operation Verve is about giving you the tools and the infrastructure that you need to continue that growth journey. And it applies for any business in any industry. It works particularly well in retail, of course, because there are so many mechanical operations that happen in retail, particularly if you're running logistics as well. But every business that wants to scale needs this sort of approach. It is literally the only way. You cannot scale unless you've got these sorts of things set up. Actually, can I show you the next bit about how to do it? Because that'll sort of step you through really clearly. Is that all right?
Of course.
Awesome. So how to do it? The first thing that if you're working with me, or if you're inspired after this and you want to go away and work yourself, is to have a look at the structures in your business, because they are like the scaffolding of a building, or maybe like the foundations that you need to lay before you actually start, building that skyscraper. So your structures are things like creating an organisation chart and actually having a look at who are the people functioning in each role. And it's very likely you'll have more than one person functioning across roles, and that's completely fine. That's business building. That's how it works. But specifying those how those positions fit together is really important, because you'll start to see, A, where is there opportunities to streamline, B, who needs some relief from the amount of work, that it's not a sustainable, model to have your name or your manager's name all over 20 different positions in your organisation structure. And then, of course, places that you're not really dealing and need to expand out in, maybe your customer care, maybe your advertising and marketing. You can see you're a bit light on in those areas. So your structure is really important, and an organisation chart is super valuable for that. Another structure that is absolutely integral for you to build your business is your filing systems and your organisation of your resources. So online, this will look like cleaning up all of your folders, that you're using to store all of your records and everything that you need. And doing that by business department is the way that it will make sense for everyone. So organising your business departments, then using that to structure your filing. And then if you've got a physical site, like most of us do in business, cleaning up, literally decluttering, getting rid of files and paperwork that you just don't need. I'm a massive fan of going paperless. So that things are accessible in a central location, that not only you can find them, but as you continue to grow, more and more team members will be able to, do it yourself to the resources that they need. So without going back down into the foundation of the structures of your business, again, you can't build something that's bigger than you, and you certainly will get yourself in an absolute mess. And I know that from experience. When I came across to work in our business full time, so Alec, my late husband, was always in business full time, and I actually went and did a teaching degree, and that was really valuable because I sort of studied while I could still work in the business part time, and then I worked as a teacher to generate revenue to support our growth when we needed some, just cash flow through our home. And Alec is the classic entrepreneur, like you described before. Such a creative guy, really great at chasing down sales and closing deals and having new ideas for website developments and working there with our developer. And yet when I finished up my teaching and came across to work with him at the very start of 2013, after 8 years in the classroom, I found that he had made an absolute mess, God love him, in our, I say air quotes, filing. We literally just had archiving boxes with stuff that had been thrown in, and there was no possible way of finding anything, and our warehouse had no locations. It was just an absolute mess. And so it's a good thing that I did come across to work with him full time, and I think, God was smiling down at me there, because if I hadn't done that, I wouldn't have had a familiarity with the business and been able to start on that restructuring even while Alec was still alive, because no one could have known that he was going to have that heart attack. But
wow.
Yeah, so those structures are really, really important. Once you've got that sorted, you'll be able to clearly see the roles, and that's where you'll pull each of those every role out of the organisation chart and start to specify exactly what does the position description look like for every single role. I do run into a lot of businesses that don't have position agreements, they don't have contracts, or they don't have descriptions there, that the expectations are clearly outlined from the outset about what will that employee be responsible for. And so that gives massive clarity for the people involved at the time. But it also means that position description can then be used if you want to employ another person for that. You want to employ another salesperson or another marketing person. You can use that one position description as the template for the next role, and then just modify it to suit. So having a very clear understanding of the positions in the business and what each person does, it creates accountability, it creates clear expectations, and then it creates the ability to scale really smoothly, because onboarding new people then becomes an absolute breeze.
So 100%.
Yeah. So you do that, and then we get to the bit that I spend the most amount of time with people in, and that of course is documenting their systems. And this will just look like page after page of written down instructions with screenshots to show, or photos to show what a good job looks like, or instruction videos can sometimes be handy as well. And then making sure that the resources that you built put back into that filing system, so that the structure allows people to find those resources and they actually get used. We're not speaking about operations manuals that sit on the shelf or policy and procedures that never get looked at. I'm speaking about alive, dynamic documents that literally lead the way with task completion. So
that's going to result into employees being happy as well. They know what they're doing. They know where to find things. There's no frustration there. They've seen how to use it, which is great.
Yes. The stats are amazing on this, actually. 93% of employees in a study done here in Australia in the last couple of years say that they want workplace training to be easy, simple to access and simple to understand, which, of course, people want to learn things quickly. You don't want to sit there confused. And the other thing that's amazing is that 84% of employees in the same study said that they would be more likely to stay with their employer if they were given more opportunities and time for professional learning. So
really,
isn't that
amazing?
Yeah. Employees want to learn. And if you've got documents there, you can do what I've done my couple of days and cross-train them so that they can be working in any department. So it gives them variety. It makes their resume a truckload better. But it creates loyalty because you're providing the career progression that they want right there in-house.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's good. And then the next thing, we need to make sure that there's accountability. There's no point having a whole bunch of tasks and work set out if you're not checking in to make sure that people are doing it. So setting up KPIs and making sure you've got a review schedule there so that you can see what's being done and reward a good job, which is hugely important. The studies all over the place show just how motivating it is for employers to be acknowledged and rewarded for their efforts. And with accountability structures too, if they need support, you can spot it straight away. You know, if you've got a regular routine that you're checking on the KPIs weekly or monthly, you'll see right then and there if help needs to be provided. If you're waiting to the quarterly review, I personally think it's too long because you've left that employee for 3 months. They needed support and you never even checked, and there was no structure for you to check. So
I completely agree with that. There's nothing worse at a performance appraisal that it's a surprise to them. It shouldn't be that way.
Yeah, it's really horrible. And what that makes it feel like a punitive sort of surveillance situation where you're set up to fail and you're only checking on them to see what they haven't done, you know, whereas that's the exact opposite of what you want. You really want to have a workplace that people feel supported and nurtured and that they feel like they're important, their work is acknowledged. So the accountability is really important. And then we need to make sure that the systems that are set up are actually compliant with industry regulations. And so that's where often I'll take the lead from the business owner, or I'll get a specialist in if the business is, got some serious compliance sort of regulations there. And then finally, we need to make sure we can maintain the business systems, that you've got schedules for review, that you've got things like spot checks. that you've got people testing each other's instructions, and that you've got at least reviews happening biannually. So twice a year, you need to make sure you're going over the documentation and, or at least delegating. The business owner should not be doing it themselves. It's way too time consuming. But to make sure that the task documentation is accurate, it's up to date, the links work, the password's still right, the interface of the software is still right, yada yada, and making sure that the documentation is able to be used to direct the performance of the task. So that's how to do it, and that is literally the process that I'll take all of my clients through.
That is a huge process. Question, how long is this process for a business? It would be business to business based, or what should the average person allow for? I'm guessing this is a whole complete overhaul for a business. If you're going to do a structure, are you looking at 3-6 months? It's not something that's going to happen overnight, right?
You're exactly right. It's a bit of a piece of string sort of a question, because there are some businesses who have a particular project just in their onboarding. They just want to get their onboarding right. They're looking to scale, and so that's fine. We'll just do onboarding. Or some that are just looking at managing their emails, so we'll just do that. So certainly working on a project basis can sort of put a bit of a boundary around the work. The longest I've ever worked with a client was 9 months, and we met weekly for 60 to 90-minute sessions, and then she was left with homework. And we went right through the business. We did their emails, we did their accounting, finance. We outsourced the marketing. We didn't develop systems for that. We got that outsourced. And then the bulk of the work that we did, this client was in online retail. And so customer service was absolutely vital, and it was something that they were doing well, but they really needed some consistency there. And they're a global company. They've got outlets in Canada and Australia. So it was important to have round-the-clock scheduling and resources that could be accessed there, essentially by everyone at the same time, like whenever they need it. So 9 months is the longest. I normally say 6 to 8 for a complete overhaul.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's good that our viewers are realistic on that it isn't something that they can just turn around in a week.
Absolutely. If you wanted to stop it, you couldn't do the documentation before you did the structure and the roles. You just couldn't do that. If you wanted to stop once your documentation is there, that would probably take a couple of months off, But I look and I think, well, if you've got all that documentation, but then you've got no system to implement, it's not going to be as useful. And that's where the latter part of the phase is where that's where the value comes, and that's where that stickability comes from. But at the end of the day, I'm not the business owner, am I? I'm a consultant, and I know what works best, but still the business owner is in the driver's seat of the business. So, I do need to follow the lead a little bit, because the business owner's got their life invested, whereas I'm working with them for a few months. So it's a very different thing. But,
I'm sure our business owners right now are going, wow, there's so much I need to look at in my business, which is good. This presentation has been so good for people to actually have a good look, identify where they are, and then see what they need to start setting up. Future-proof it.
Great, exactly. This is how you scale. These 6 steps here is literally how you can scale. Doing that, setting these systems up will allow you to grow. Actually, I'll just show you one other quick little bit. There are clear benefits. You get team certainty, which is exactly what you said before. Excuse me, Sam. That everyone knows what a good job looks like, and everyone's confident that they can achieve that, and they'll be rewarded for it. And the boss is confident too, that they know what's going on, and that they know their team are on track. You get sustainable expansion rather than the growth that perhaps you've had up to this point, which has been a bit ad hoc and a bit stressful. And it gives the business owner lifestyle choices, that they actually know they can take a holiday, they can take a weekend off, they can leave work early, and the team's got it covered, and it's going to be stable. And finally, this is actually a really important one, and it is my final point, Sam, but by using my proven system, what actually happens is that businesses can develop their own. And this is particularly great for retail businesses who are looking to franchise, or service-based businesses that are looking to develop a licensing model, Because if you can unlock all of that IP and turn it into operating procedures and that core business knowledge turns into a formula. And with that ability to duplicate, you can not only scale, but your system itself becomes the value of the business. I think for the 6 months it takes to invest in getting this right, what you can do, it's literally building the infrastructure of exponential growth. There's nothing you can't do once you've got this all squared away.
Wow, what a way to finish. The visionaries on here, the entrepreneurs that are on this call are going to be itching to get their hands into this. Thank you so much, Kerry. This was an awesome training module. And if you want to reach out to Kerry, we're going to have the links clicked below where you can reach her on her socials and on her website. Kerry's available for her to come in and implement some of these services, or you may want to do it yourself. But do reach out to Kerry. As you can see, she's a wealth of knowledge. So thank you for your time today.
You're welcome. Do you want me to stop the screen share so we can say goodbye?
Sure.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, I'm back. I'm a real person. Oh, yeah, I would love to hear. And you know what? Even if you just want to reach out and tell me your business stories, I love hearing that stuff. I'm always inspired by people's vision and the story of how they've grown so far.
Awesome. Let us know if you love Kerry. We loved having you on, Kerry. We may have to approach you to come on live one day and they can ask you some Q&As and stuff, because that was really
That'd be great. I'd love to do that, Sam.
Thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for inviting me. I hope it's been valuable.
Very valuable. Thank you.